Sit back, hold my beer, and watch this. Isn't that what we're going to be saying for the next several years? Well, one of the largest secretive interagency departments in the U.S. government is now going to disband and destroy everything. It's a department we've talked about many times, allegedly reporting to the Department of State, but no, it's far wider than that, far more expansive, and they just announced a plan that Trump needs to be aware of because of the implications of what's going to occur immediately thereafter. The story I'm going to bring you here in just 1 minute. Man, I'm telling you, this story we're going to talk about today, unfounded, what's being done. But I always promise you all the major headlines first. And there's a few things I want you to be aware of that you're going to see on your news headlines. Analysts predict big drop for U.S. and global health rankings. Okay. It's going to lower the nation's global ranking. The United States will drop from 49th in 2022 to 66th in 2050. Among only 204 countries around the world. So much for Obamacare, huh? But beware the information you're being given, because if you go into the actual peer-reviewed publications, increases in U.S. life expectancy forecast to stall by 2050. Well, of course, I want to know who did the research. And we go to none other than the Lancet once again, who published it. Except it doesn't take a rocket scientist to go down in the publication and see who funded it. Funding by Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. America healthcare is jeopardized. Now, I don't disagree with that. But to the degree they're stating, well, that could provide a different outcome. Because if you know Bill Gates, which I know you all do, Bill Gates wants to make rich countries move to 100% synthetic beef. It would be healthier. Look at the decline in healthcare. Look at our rankings. We have to do something about it. Maybe that explains a little more why he's buying up so much farmland, huh? The story will develop, but nonetheless, I want you to get always to the heart of who publishes disinformation that the mainstream media seizes on, reports out to you, and they don't necessarily give you all the background. An update in the Fani Willis case. Remember, Judicial Watch asking for documentation about her correspondence with Jack Smith and the White House and the J6 committee. Fani putting two middle fingers up in the air, not complying. Well, we have an update. The watchdog wins. Court has now given Fani Willis, 5 days to release all communications between her, Jack Smith, the J6 committee. Oh, I can only imagine those shredders are again working overtime. The ruling states, by finding the defendant in default, the court has in fact declared that she has violated the order. Let's put it that way. The court also hereby orders defendant to conduct a diligent search of her records for responsive materials within 5 business days of the entry of this order, or else. It appears the Fani Willis reign has come to an end. What an amazing, Judicial Watch did an incredible job on this. Of course, broadcasting on their own platform, stating, court finds Fani Willis default in open records lawsuit, orders her to produce all the records in 5 days. And he's got another victory underneath his belt. It's watchdogs like that that make all the difference. It's the only time you find out the real information, which funnels back into our main story eventually. What is disinformation? What is information? How that used to be applied to foreign governments? Well, it came home to roost. Also, a victory for Alex Jones. Bankruptcy judge rejects the Onion's bid to buy Alex Jones' InfoWarfare. It's not completely over, just delayed. A small victory lap. What a joke that was to begin with. You remember this report I provided for you? Chicago's mayor getting ravaged by, well, in his own meeting, getting ravaged by his own citizens, his own voter base, and they were not happy with Brandon. Listen in here for a minute before I give you the next step in this saga.
You all stood up there and said you will not allow Trump to come in here and get these illegals. Yeah, you can smile. We're in $1 billion deficit. And you spent half of our money, half of that on illegals. Trump, Tom Homan, make an example out this right here first. Please come here first, because you know what? We're going to help you. We want to forensic.
Ma'am, I would ask that you
keep your,
hold on a second.
One of many people screaming at Chicago's Mayor Brandon Johnson, rightfully so. No, bring Trump, bring Homan. Well, Homan shows up. He's got a few words to state about this entire situation.
Back to their neighborhood. And that's what sanctuary cities does. Sanctuaries are sanctuaries for criminals only. So they're going to release the criminal back into the community? You think the victim witness really want that? Of course they don't. And let me tell you something. When you release them back in the community, where is that illegal alien likely to reoffend? In the immigrant community. In the black community. In the black community. That's right. And when you release them in the community, it just means I got to send more agents in the community. We're going to find others. So get rid of the sanctuary policies. We're going to sue sanctuary cities on the next administration. So the position of your man and your government is terrible. I started the speech with that. They're terrible. Come to the table. Come to the table. I welcome you to come to the table and help us protect your communities. But if you don't, get the hell out of the way. With that,
a hero's welcome for Homan. Rightfully so. He deserves it. Your mayor's horrible. Your governor's horrible. They can come to the table. You hear the audience screaming, come on in. We need you, and we need you now. But again, they're just hypocritical in so many ways, just like the man on your screen. Well, they both are, but we're going to talk about Adam Schiff in this statement. And then I'm going to play you something to remind you exactly who Adam Schiff is and the exemplification of hypocrisy.
I don't think the incoming president should be threatening his political opponents with jail time. That's not the kind of talk we should hear from a president in a democracy.
That's all we need to hear. That's all we need to hear from you, Adam, because, well, it appears you took a different posture when the shoe was on the other foot, now didn't you?
On the day Donald Trump leaves office, the Justice Department may indict him.
Very strongly in favor of indicting the president when he is out of office.
I don't think the incoming president should be threatening his political opponents with jail time.
Well, Adam, what goes around comes around. 2018 to 2019 to today. Boy, how your position has changed as Donald J. Trump is heading into office, and he is ready to discuss a bunch of stuff that you guys have done in the past. Or hopefully he won't be like Biden, who just has, well, random episodes.
I can't name a single country in the world that doesn't think. Put it this way. If we're not leading the world, who does? Not a joke. I'm not being wise guy. If we do not lead the world, what nation leads the world?
Is he okay? Where'd that come from? Did somebody say something? Did somebody ruin his Wheaties? Because all of a sudden, out of nowhere, once again, another screaming episode, the exemplification of power and control, right? Well, until he has the electric go out.
And you know, one of the things that's going on here, they just turned off my, I'm going to go on. I lost the electricity here. Anyway.
I'm going to miss these clips. Actually, I'm not. I'm not going to miss the clips. I'm not going to miss the lies. I'm not going to miss the misleading, because this statement goes to show you exactly this administration and their record and how it has all been a smokescreen for reality.
Next month, my administration will end and a new administration will begin. Most economists agree the new administration is going to inherit a fairly strong economy, at least at the moment. An economy going through fundamental transformation.
A strong economy. It's an interesting statement, probably an interesting, non-truth, of course. A bit of misinformation. On July, payrolls revised down from 187 to 157, meaning every single month in 2023 has been revised lower by the Biden Department of goal-seeking high numbers and then revising them lower when nobody cares anymore. And that has been the case. I don't know about you. Do you feel richer today than you were? But it's all misinformation. Everything is misinformation. But wasn't there an agency set up to fight disinformation? There was. And they just made an ultra-secretive maneuver, one we're going to cover in great detail. Now let's kick back for a minute because I need your help. I need your support. As you know, I am audience-funded news. You see no sponsors on my videos because I want to be beholden to no one. So if you can first subscribe to the channel, can't tell you how much that means to me. Your shares, your comments, always appreciated. Those of you who support me on this platform, I love you. It really does truly help to keep things moving forward. And rather than just ask for additional support, I'm going to give you something in return. You know that Lisa Haven and I created our own website, our own news website called restrictedrepublic.com. Right now we have a discount code for that website, Christmas24, $3.99 a month for 12 months, plus 14 days for free. All the videos we air on every single platform are put there, all commercials, interruptions removed, on top of the exclusive content that we only provide there. You don't need to go anywhere else for your news. You can turn off all the notifications. You don't need to look at them because we'll provide you everything that's important under one roof. That roof being restrictedrepublic.com today. That support keeps our news going forward and providing you the truth, referenced, and research you've been looking for. I need you there today. Restrictedrepublic.com, Christmas 24 monthly discount code, $3.99 a month for 12 months, 14 days for free. Get there today. But now, let's get back to those who we're supposed to guard against misinformation. Okay, so now we're going to accelerate the pace slightly. The Global Engagement Center, the GEC, allegedly reporting to the U.S. Department of State, but it doesn't. It's an interagency department. As a matter of fact, I even think they stated to be a data-driven body leading U.S. interagency efforts in proactively addressing foreign adversaries. Well, if it was on just foreign adversaries, because our government is very good at going out to foreign countries, and while assuring the information is aligning with what their political interests are. It actually became a global machine eventually. A machine for all those nations from the UK to Germany to France to the US to assure we had a very seamless stream of information. Their information. And so the Global Engagement Center was there to stop Russia and China from providing misinformation via social media, X or Facebook, and find those accounts and shut them down because they're hurting American interest. It's a very high-level overview of what they were to do. State Department's little-known weapon for countering foreign disinformation faces an uncertain future. The Global Engagement Center has helped thwart Kremlin-backed disinformation campaigns in other countries. But some GOP skeptics may prevent its reauthorization. Now, why, might you ask? Sounds like a good idea on the surface. Well, until it goes from foreign to domestic. Daily Wire versus the United States Department of State. And who are they going after? The Global Engagement Center. But that's not a foreign publication. That's one in the U.S. What happened? What changed? Well, if you see here, the Daily Wire is on a list of the riskiest sites. Because what the Global Engagement Center did is spawned a way to assure that there was lists for advertisers through their subsidiaries, their contractors. You probably really don't want to advertise on these guys because they're a risky site, man. There's a lot of disinformation on there. When did this spawn? From what was to fight ISIS initially. That's how it was founded, the Global Engagement Center. To fight ISIS and the misinformation, to use AI algorithms to go out and find their search terms so that they can identify what accounts they were and make sure those accounts were shut down so they couldn't spread terrorist information domestically. Seems like a lot is spawned off of terrorist threats, isn't it? Well, this was no exception. But that exception changed, and it started to propagate to calling out the sites like the New York Post, Reason, Real Clear Politics, Daily Wire, The Blaze, One American News Network, American Conservative, Federalist, Newsmax, The American Spectator, and calling them risky. Of course, the least riskiest sites were NPR, AP News, the New York Times, Insider, USA Today, the Washington Post, the Wall Street Journal, HuffPost. I think you get the idea where this is going. It appears they started using those search terms, well, domestically. And why did they do that? And how did they do that? Well, the group was originally created under the Department of State. Matt Taibbi, through his X-Files, exposed a lot of this, and I hope you followed our broadcast on it. The Global Engagement Center is usually listed as a State Department entity. It's not. Created in Obama's last year, GEC is an interagency group within state, whose initial partners include the FBI, the DHS, the NSA, the CIA, DARPA, Special Operations Command, and others. But the FBI is supposed to be a domestic organization, right? The CIA would be foreign, but of course, if the information was allegedly trucking into the United States, then the FBI would have to get involved. But DARPA, wow, aren't they the ones running so much of the AI technology? It was helping you identify accounts that were flagged as being fraudulent. How many of your accounts could have been impacted by this? There's a list out there. Don't worry about that. And so when COVID broke out, the Global Engagement Center, a fledgling analytical intelligence arm of the State Department, went to the media with a report called Russian Disinformation Apparatus Taking Advantage of Coronavirus Concerns. Something spawns out of terrorist attacks and something spawns out of pandemics. And generally, it doesn't help our freedoms or liberties here in the United States. If you go through an airport, you'll understand that, because just like there with air marshals and everything else that were put in place to prevent terrorism, and caught virtually no, if not a single terrorist, but nonetheless invaded our privacies. So hence why we all have concerns. Again, keeping this super high level, they had a mandate to recognize, understand, expose, and counter foreign disinformation. On the surface, it's the same mission the United States Information Agency fulfilled for decades, with a catch. USIA focused on foreign disinformation. However, the GEC goes much wider. How wide, you might ask? It's an incubator for domestic disinformation complex, says a former intelligence source. All the crap we pull in other countries since the Cold War, some moron decides to bring home. And they did. The GEC could have avoided controversy by focusing on exposing and answering disinformation with research and more a public approach. But instead, it hired a secret list of contractors and subcontractors and helped pioneer an insidious and idiotic new form of blacklisting. They reviewed account after account, 499 accounts as foreign disinformation. But how did they determine what was misinformation? Was it truly accounts connected to foreign governments that were intruding in the United States of America? Well, the list goes on, and you could see it here. Unfortunately, it's just the way it's formatted. Excuse me. It's endless. Everybody they said was a dormant account or non-active account, and I'll show you an example of a few. The ecosystem is not a new concept. It's been with the U.S. since Salem and the witch trials. Guilt by association. No trial. No, you didn't go to court. You didn't get to fight it. You were just blacklisted. Or in the case of many of us news sites, you were downstacked from any advertiser dollars. And without advertiser dollars or support dollars like you provide, the news can't exist. It's not free. None of this is free. The equipment isn't free. The time is not free. The effort is not free, as much as people would like to think it is. It becomes very non-economical. If you retweet a news source linked to Russia, this is a Twitter exec, you become Russia-linked disinformation. Does not exactly resonate as a sound research approach, but that's what they did. GE sent Twitter a series of reports on series of topics employing the ecosystem concept. Its report on France attributes membership in the Yellow Vest movement as being Russia-aligned. It's how Twitter, Aaron Rodrigues put it. And so account after account, if you dared retweet anything from any Russian news source, you were a Russian agent, immediately and overnight. The Hamilton 68 dashboard, as they called it, employed digital alchemy to create streams of headlines tying Americans to foreign disinformation. The ecosystem reports, GEC, and many disinformation laboratories feed reporters are often just subtler versions of the same thing. And so conservative site after conservative site started to disappear. conservative profile after conservative profiles suddenly got blacklisted. How come I don't hear from X anymore or XYZ anymore? Because they were blacklisted. And maybe in part due to the GEC. After Politico cited a new knowledge report to the SSCI as evidence for what it called sweeping efforts to sow division, Twitter dug in. NK pointed to 5 supposedly Russian accounts, saying it was relatively easy to find them on Twitter. Accounts, well, like this: Fitness Craving, Best Tattooing, and Becca 51178. Well, they were gone immediately. Although these bots are doing nothing malicious now, they are available to be repurposed for future malicious use. So what did they do? Well, you disappeared. Twitter's Nick Pickles' new technology pitch: pick accounts that they have deemed to be IRA controlled and then spin up bigger macro analysis, storing about 2,000 Russian accounts tweeting about Kavanaugh, Walker, and Caravan were often based on media activity from the new knowledge. So if you picked the wrong story to broadcast on and they tied it to misinformation, aka Hunter Biden laptop, then you were gone. That's how they found everybody that reposted the New York Post story to be a perfect example. And those accounts were blacklisted and downstacked and littered this ecosystem with people who no longer had a voice. And without a voice, you have no dissent. And without dissent, you no longer have the great republic of the United States of America. Of course, as soon as Senate started asking questions coming out of a leak, thankfully, well, now the GEC is going to make a different decision. Disinformation studies, or so they're called, have mostly become a con, where non-experts mesmerize reporters with one form GEC staff were called hairball, or hairball charts, usually meaning something idiotic like who follows 2 Chinese diplomats or shares an Iranian Free Palestine meme, and you found yourself on the list. What a wonderful mechanism, huh? IG report shows the GEC, after they got audited, was initially obligated $98.7 million, of which roughly $80 million came from the Pentagon. Yes, the Pentagon. It reportedly gave it to at least 39 different organizations, but they redacted every single one of their names. What a secretive. What's the big secret? If you're here to represent Americans and protect us, then why do you have to hide every single thing you do? Twitter communications official Ian Plunkett wrote years ago that misinformation, like countering violent extremism before it, is becoming a cottage industry. And it became a moneymaker. Just not for those that had dissenting opinions. So bad was it that Elon Musk came out and said the worst offender in U.S. government censorship and media manipulation is an obscure agency called the GEC. So what's happened now? And why such a warning to Trump over this? Because what they say they're going to do isn't necessarily what they're going to do. Automatic Doge. The Global Engagement Center, a State Department disinformation arm, set to sunset. It wasn't because of Doge. Oh, no, it's because of something much larger than that. Of course they would have been disbanded because they don't represent we the people. But we got to go deeper. McCall asked ISSA send letter to express concerns with the GEC reauthorization. The Biden administration in the hot seat for sending Congress incomplete records for censorship investigation. Everybody hiding everything. The secretive State Department funding global disinformation index is accused of censoring conservative views. And so we get this filing from the Daily Wire, this court case, and then a letter to Congress stating that we, the Global Engagement Center, within this letter from the United States government to the courts, and if you were to go through the whole filing, I'm just going to pull out the most important part. We're going to disband. We're done. The center shall terminate on the date. This is 8 years after the date of enactment, December 23rd, 2016. We're done. We're out of here. Everybody, don't worry. The GEC is over. We're all safe. Our opinions will be heard again. Not so fast. And Trump, listen in here. Because you have to deal with this. Because that's not what they did. It's in this filing itself. No, what they did, The department transmitted a notification to Congress regarding its plan for the forthcoming termination of the GEC and its plan to realign the staff and funding to other department offices. So, in essence, all they did is went out on the building and took the sign down. However, the staff and technology and computers are going to be spread apart across all government agencies. They're not terminated. No, they're spreading out. They're burying themselves within organizations. Does that mean the machine stopped? Absolutely not. So once again, before you get sucked into mainstream headlines and you think everything's great and celebrate it, read the fine print. It's always there. You just have to be able to dig it out. The Global Engagement Center, by title, is gone. But by methodology and action, still exists. Except now it will be spread apart multiple government agencies, because in the beginning it was an interagency department anyway, and they just proved that out. So Trump, Doge is going to have to dig deep on this one. You got to find this, because there should never be censorship of American citizens in violation of the Constitution, period. And just because you go and hide doesn't mean it shouldn't be found out once again. I love you all. Until next time, Godspeed and God bless. Justus Knight, signing out.